Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome to Sunday's video. Now this one is going to be focused on Apocalypse. In this kind of ongoing series, every Sunday what I do is I pick a champion for my roster, go over why it's a new rank up, it's a key element to my build, why I run it in this, why I don't run it in that, and other stuff. This video is focused on Apocalypse. I picked up Apocalypse on Christmas Day 2020. It's actually a bit of a sweet kind of romance story, and it is a champion I actually really enjoy. It's going to be one of those that I look to take to rank 3. I love the debuff elements to the champion from the damage output and damage over time. Also the extent of the way it interacts with damaging debuffs or debuffs on the enemy and the damage potential the champion has. More so if you've got Suicide Masters, but I don't run it that way. But still, I have immense fun month in, month out. I just want to showcase some of the content that I use it on, some of the content I recommend to use it on, why I feel that it's a great champion. I mean, we all know it's a great champion because of the Horseman synergy and so much more. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just throw up some footage. I've got some footage running right now, which showcases the fight against Winter Soldier. The great thing about it is if you've got the cable synergy, it does mean you reach the top point of the genetic code. So you'll go straight into the first fight with 4 genetic code, which means you're going to be able to hit some great amount of damage very early on, especially because prowess and the special attack damage is going to ramp up. More so if you've got the more damaging debuffs. Currently, I've only got 2 damaging debuffs, but you can look to then throw if you've got 4 genetic code and throw your SP1, you get the weakness and you get the poison. If you've got if you do an SP2, same principle, 4 genetic code, you do the degeneration and incinerate. So you are then maximizing your damage potential. You can do like what I'm doing, parry heavy in order to keep those debuffs strong. And we're going to try and hit through with an SP2. Bish bash bosh. We're going to see some good numbers here. Not incredible numbers. 10k. Yeah, that's alright. Sometimes it crits, sometimes it doesn't, which is kind of a bit disappointing. And I'm going to look to throw another SP2 straight after this. I get hit, but then that's another story for another day. I've been having a few issues with the device with that. But apart from that, look. It's some great damage on potential. We're going to go for a parry heavy in a minute and hopefully like spank a good amount of damage, especially to take this guy down. There's not like huge amounts of crits, but yeah, seeing 7k, 7k, 10k, and then hit off with a 3k. That's all right. It's when you get to like rotating around the SP1 you get some fun numbers and stuff. And I would like to have kind of like you know, have this champion with Suicide Masteries, especially with the way that some of the immunities do work and how this is more like a content clearer for Cavalier on a monthly basis, especially with healing factor, which again is something we'll talk about in a moment. I'm going to, in a second, throw in the SP2. Hopefully it's a good one. And I could look to do more parry heavy to add more bleed effects, especially 10k, and then end with a 5k, so it's not overly ramped up. And again, the important side of things is to try and make sure that you get as much damaging debuffs on the enemy when you're rotating around. But the SP1s, I should be throwing off more because of, well, that. Apocalypse's Horseman synergy is probably one of the best in the game, especially for mutants. I wouldn't say it's the best in the game, but it's the best for mutants. I should be more clear of that. This can help out a lot of mutants, whether or not you're using ones that interact with certain nodes based on synergy. So you've got neurotoxin improvements, Gambit, Wolverine, you know, those are part of the synergy kit. But if you're looking to amplify the likes of Colossus with his special attack damage, then yes, a lot of people are definitely using the Horseman synergy. The same thing with Strife. Although Strife has got its own kind of like separate build when it comes to Horsemen. But yeah, there is so much on offer with that if you're using mutant champions. I myself have not found a great usage for it at times, but that just goes down to circumstance, nodes being quite specific, and as well maybe not having a champion I'm willing to rank up in order to use. So for example, Wolverine, I thought as a 5-star, I had him as a 4-star. Same thing with Cable. I have him as a rank 3 5-star, but he's actually, you know, better as a 565, especially for the degen damage improvements, especially with the way that he's got the synergy, and so much more. The inbuilt kit that Apocalypse has is really good, especially to suppress the likes of Incinerate, and as well suppress the likes of Evade, and also bleed immunity, which makes him a strong candidate for having a really good interaction with Suicide Masteries, and the way that, you know, if he's going to shrug off bleed, that means he's like now ready to then fight. Also, with those being cross-fight, it means that he'll be Incinerate immune, bleed immune, and as well have interaction with Spider-Verse and evading based characters from fight to fight. Going a bit further from that, there is a really decent interaction lane in 6.1.5. If you're looking for something to take yourself down this path here, especially because it ends with Incinerate 30 and as well has Buffet, but that's not really the issue with this. The issue with this is first of all the Incinerate. Second is that there's there's a biohazard route, so as soon as you hit into the champion, you're going to get bled. And there are options that would be Incinerate immune and as well interact with bleed. But at the same time, you could really interact with those two there. And the same thing with going down further. Like there could be, and again, like Incinerate 30 right there, that you could go and again interact with an Incinerate immunity and go down to Incinerate 30 there. This whole route here can be really well interacted with if you indeed have yourself an Apocalypse. So there are options there, especially if you're looking for anything that's got any kind of like bleed immune interactivity. This is a solid option here. There are a few things in 6.4.4 with being diss track, and it's annoying that Kabam have taken out diss track from the Cavalier difficulty because this champion is pretty much built for it and is actually a pretty cool interaction. So let's play out 3 battles from this route. First of all, the fact is we've got, I think this is Aspect of Death, which is like you kind of like degen and then you start regenning back. But this champion does have biohazard, so again, like as soon as we kind of like go through and we start fighting, it's gonna be very self-evident in a moment that that bleed damage is gonna get us. Now, first of all, I'm like, oh yeah, we're not doing this, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, biohazard. That's why we're doing this experimentation and this little kind of thing here. But you know, I need to hit him several more times in order to trigger off, which we do there. So the bleed immunity takes a while. It has to cycle through. So once it's done, we're ready to go, we're ready to smash, and everything is right as rain. The biggest disappointment about this is that as soon as the enemy builds a bar of power, you build a bar of power. But at times, you don't want to be pushing champions to SP2s unless you're fighting champions that SP2s are easier to evade. For example, Agent Venom. And Agent Venom is the next fight for this, so that's kind of alright. But yeah, as soon as I'm I'm just like playing a little bit cautiously, because you just don't know what is going to happen, whether or not it's going to be a case that the champion's going to throw something. You know, I could have done a scuffy evade there. I didn't, but if I did a scuffy evade, then it does cost you when it comes to the grind. So what we're going to try and do is throw an SP1 if we can, but as soon as I kind of like dip back from this, the enemy throws it, we lose the power. It is what it is. So what I will try and do is cycle around as best I can with the SP1 because I don't want to risk anything more. I then swipe back and throw an SP1 right there. So again, like just do some damage. And that's the disappointing side of things, is that we're not going to see like a big ramp up here because I'm playing this more cautiously. This is just quickly showcasing top left hand corner. Incinerate is on me. You can see it's not nice. I'm just going to hang back. As this is the first fight, there we go, Incinerate immunity. As this is the first fight of that longer route which I just showcased, the fact is, it is a little bit more easier to build that up very early on, that Incinerate immunity, and then see yourself going further down the line. I would love to have used at the time either a 565 or my 6-star version of Apocalypse when doing this quest, but you know, I can't have every champion, and I can't certainly go back in time with the roster that I had. It's just not feasible, people. As yeah, some of the champions I used, I think I used an OG Captain Marvel Classic in order to take down a lot of 6.1.5. So hey. That was a thing I did. But anyway, moving on to the monthly applications to this champion. Now, what of using Apocalypse on a monthly basis? Well, I do love using this champion because we've got healing factor. Each hit in the special attack of an attacking mutant champion has a 30% chance to grant them a passive regeneration, healing at 2% of the base health over 10 seconds. This chance is increased to 70% if the attacker has a prowess buff or passive, which Apocalypse has. That's the first kind of like good thing for this champion. The second part to this is mutant attackers gain an indefinite passive fury, increasing attack rating by 70% every time they gain a regeneration buff or passive. Get regen off special, get themselves that nice little attack rating increase with the passive fury. There's 2 things there. That is great, and basically allows for just like some really nice damage, and does make it like just so much more enjoyable on a monthly basis to use some of these champions. Let's roll some footage. So there we go with the Colossus fight, and it's just going to be a case of like getting special attacks and rotating around them. Now, we're not going to be able to get any bleed immunity, so that's one thing, because you know, well, Colossus is bleed immune. Gets a little regen, but it, again, doesn't mean a thing. Now that we've got the full genetic, because we are fighting off against a mutant. This works pretty well. And the next attack I need to throw is an SP2 because it's Hurt Locker. Now, passive, the regen's failing as a result of the interaction with a node, but it's a case as soon as we throw off the SP2, it's going to be game over. Now, the champion is being a little bit annoying. I don't like this with the game at the moment, where champions just don't throw special attacks and they become very defensive. They keep clinching. It's just like a terrible boxing match. In any case, I'm being very kind of like standing offish because you just don't know. When the AI is performing a bit like weird like that, you're like, I'm going to be cautious here. A nice cautious cat. Anyway, throw the SP2 and it's just going to do this. Yeah, that was a lot of damage right there, and that is why this becomes incredibly enjoyable when it comes to the interaction. And thank God in some ways for Apocalypse being in. There are other mutant champions, but at the same time, if you're looking for a champion in that same light with healing factor, that can boost up other mutant champions by the time you get to the end. If you've got the Horseman synergy, and I think it was last month was Mr. Sinister, it's going to mean that you get Archangel, you get your Cable, you get any other champion that seems to interact with the boss. Then you're able to smash in a good amount of damage. And that's, I think, what I did this month with it. But if I didn't, then I'd probably use a specific champion for a specific reason, or I decided to use Apocalypse for the boss. Either way, it's all good and it all works nicely. Anyway, that has been a little bit of a deep dive video into a champion on my roster that I use for many specific reasons and other content I would have liked to have used him in. There are going to be so many other bits to this, like could you use him in Abyss? Of course, there's stuff in Act 6.3 to a degree. I think I've only used him once for one path and that's it. But again, that's just down to Act 6.3 and a lot of stuff about Act 6 being incredibly specific. I may look to use him in some other elements, maybe in like Act 6.2, definitely in 6.1. The champion has a lot of use and interaction, but apart from that, like he is just fantastic. So yeah, that has been why I use Apocalypse in the content I do. Thanks very much for watching this video. Check out some other content located up there, and I'll see you all very soon.